Businesses are embracing the transformational nature of shifting to the cloud, recognizing the impact it offers on performance, agility, and security. As organizations increase their reliance on cloud technologies, teams are seeking to embrace cloud applications and relocate existing digital assets. Hi, I'm Sreenivasa Setty, Cloud Business Leader and Thought Leader in Cloud Solutions and Services. I've been a catalyst in transforming more than 100 organizations into intelligent enterprises with cloud infra, data, analytics, and APIs. A cloud strategy is an outline for the role of cloud in an organization. Today, most organizations do not have a formal cloud strategy, although by 2022, 70% of the organizations will have one, says Gartner. For many organizations whose major business applications are Oracle database based, Oracle is committed to delivering the most open, reliable, scalable, and secure infrastructure as a platform. We have enabled many organizations to move to the cloud and harness the power of cloud computing. Join me to meet the IT leaders who have executed large-scale cloud migration, faced many challenges, mitigated the risks, and now realizing the benefits. We will discuss and learn their approach of creating the cloud strategy, approach to workload prioritization to move Oracle E-Business Suite, PeopleSoft, and other enterprise applications, including Oracle Soha middleware and Microsoft database, for instance, into Oracle Cloud infrastructure. We will talk to the cloud leaders from Oracle to understand the considerations for moving to Oracle Cloud infrastructure, advantages and business cases for OCI, as well as use cases of OCI. Next up, I would like to introduce Chad Mcafee, Global Vice President for North America Cloud Engineering at Oracle. Chad owns the end-to-end engagement of cloud-native workloads to Oracle Cloud infrastructure, as well as Isv solutions on Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Chad, thank you so much for joining us today. Chad, congratulations on the increasing success of Oracle's Gen 2 cloud infrastructure, the OCI, the Oracle Cloud infrastructure. From our enterprise customers' perspective, what is the trend for adopting OCI for data centers? Decommissioning the traditional data centers and moving to OCI?
Oracle's cloud strategy has been focused from the very beginning to tackle some of the most demanding, complicated enterprise workloads. And when you talk about data centers, enterprise customers, the need to, and the fact that all of them are taking a look at their cost and whether it makes sense to adopt the cloud or not, I think OCI's strategy for tackling those types of workloads make it a perfect place for being able to do that and ultimately make them successful. I think the advantage of OCI, I think relative to perhaps some of our peers in the industry, really lies on that strategy because we focused on those most demanding enterprise class applications. We've become essentially the destination to run Oracle workloads in the cloud that a lot of customers are running in their data center, but also because bare metal is really a first-class citizen in our cloud and it's really the foundation of our platform. We have the ability to run any on-premise workload the way a customer would expect that they are running inside their data center right now. That bare metal approach has led us not to oversubscribe resources like network and compute. It allows complete isolation. We embrace security principles from the very beginning, such as encryption from rest to when data is in transit. So I think when you couple those together, the fact that we're able to have discussions with customers about not what they need to do to modernize their application per se, although we recommend it and we have we go down that approach with customers as well. but we can also take, and they can take the tooling that they use, bring their own hypervisor, essentially operate it in a way at the scale, at the performance, and a lot of times even better than the performance than they would get in their on-premise and in a data center. It really enables that scenario, exactly what you're asking. The other thing that you see, when it comes to closing down data centers, like you need SLAs, and I think enterprises, every one of us in this space, we all provide SLAs when it comes to availability. But one of the things that we also do is we focus on SLAs around performance and manageability. And I think, couple that together with our approach, the fact that we've targeted from the very beginning enterprise class workloads, really makes it a great destination for this kind of traditional data center migration. And we're seeing a lot of momentum in that space as well. Sometimes it starts off with an app, but then ultimately, keeps trickling and ultimately can become complete data centers.
Why is cloud computing is seen as the foundation or a key enabler for digital acceleration? What are some of the key unstated benefits that IT organizations might want to articulate in their cloud business case?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, I think the industry, as a whole, has moved forward so much that I think most people understand most of the benefits to moving to the cloud. I just spoke to earlier about our approach around the fact that I think some of our advantages is what we do around the bare metal and how we handle our networking and compute to give you that kind of on-premises like experience that you would do, that has allowed people to be a benefit that I think some people don't think of when it comes to the cloud that we can actually provide. But in the end of the day, talking about benefits, enabler for digital acceleration, being nimble, how you apply your resources, less focus on operations and management, and more focus on the value-added services you do. It's ultimately allowing customers to adopt and grow and really put their investment where it makes sense for them from a business perspective. I think it really has come to play when you look at this COVID environment, COVID-19 environment, and just everything that the world is doing. I mean, we've seen customers that have to move at the speed of light, both upwards and downwards. I mean, we've completely new industries, companies that popped up overnight. We've had, companies with certain business models that were, operating and growing, but, literally, like I said, overnight, they've turned into like needing to be able to deliver and scale at ways that they've never, been able to do. Delivery companies, online groceries, to video conferencing, like we're doing, right now. The capacity needs and so forth. But then you have the flip side, industries that, have essentially crumbled in some ways. The ability to be able to use the cloud to adapt to that and right size in a quick way. I think ultimately the cloud has been an enabler of that and will continue to be an enabler of that. I think we've accelerated probably in the recent 9-10 months what it means for cloud as the foundation for that digital acceleration, that ultimately happens. So I don't know if that's many unstated benefits per se. I think they're stated, but I think the importance of some of those benefits have really come to light lately, and I don't see that going away. I think as we go forward, this will become even more and more relevant for people.
Chad, business models are fundamentally shifting, and organizations are becoming asset-light. Consumers in general have embraced asset-light culture, whether it is subscription to Netflix or Dropbox, etc. How is OCI designed to enable this consumerization in the cloud infrastructure?
Yeah, when it comes to OCI, I mean, we've taken the approach that you should be able to consume it and get started in multiple ways, whatever way you're comfortable with, from free trials to how we manage our POC environments to get customers up and going, to ultimately once customers want to start working with us, how they would ultimately subscribe and the commercialization side of it and how they would ultimately pay and ultimately manage their resources on us. We've tried to make multiple options across the board for people, from paying as you go, where whatever you consume you ultimately use, to be able to get a set of credits that you can apply across all of the different cloud services that we provide, that gives you predictability around the cost. So I think you look at OCI, what we do, there's that subscription style where you pay for what you use, you consume. That's you can also subscribe where what your costs are going to be, and you can plan that. I think a lot of enterprises and various customers also need to plan. I just was on a call with a customer today. They're like, we need to know. He needs to be able to go to his board and say, in 2022, if everything is stable and it continue, the growth we're at, what is our cost going to be for their compute infrastructure or for the cloud? So I think that's a big part. The other side of it is what we're doing around cloud native services, the ability to consume things without needing to build up that infrastructure behind it, even if it's in the cloud. We want to be able to embrace things that require more that you subscribe to it, and that all the infrastructure behind it is provided for you. You can spin up jobs, you can spin them down. I think this all becomes part of that asset light, because it's not just asset heavy or light in your on-premise or as a consumer, what you do at your home. It's also you don't want to necessarily go and to Netflix or Dropbox and know that you need to spin up all this hardware behind it. You just want to get the service itself. We're doing that across the board for developers, for enterprises, what you can do around analytics, essentially across the board. So I think that's an important piece of our strategy, with the underlining foundation of the things that we talked about, such as I think ultimately world-class compute, networking, storage that's behind it all. But we also want to hide that from our customers where it makes sense. They get the benefits of it, but they ultimately just subscribe to the services. So I think we're approaching it from the how you pay and how you consume and how you sign up, to ultimately what services that you can utilize and how you utilize and how you can subscribe to those services as you go.
Oracle is investing on high performance computing compared to other cloud vendors, and has recently announced the new HPC shapes. How is it helping organizations, and what are the use cases of high performance computing in industries like manufacturing, oil and gas, telco, and retail? And how is it helping customers?
I think when we talk about HPC, the very first thing that probably makes sense is like making sure we all understand what is HPC. High performance computing. Some workloads out there like DNA sequencing, crash simulations, all that, they're ultimately too immense, too complex, too demanding for a single server to process. So HPC ultimately addresses those challenges with nodes, these computers working together in a cluster, perform massive amounts of compute in a short time period. I think customers are moving more and more towards that direction as the environment that we live in and operate in is really complex. We can bring in so many more variables into what a customer is doing for drug manufacturing, for example. And I'm sure take the COVID environment that I mentioned earlier, all the work that's being done on vaccines, like the efforts that's there, what we're doing in the car industry to make cars safer, all of that. But to do all that, you need a high performance environment, little to no bottlenecks across compute, storage, and network. And that really plays to our strengths. And HPC in that type of scenario, we find that our biggest competition is really on-premise deployments, not necessarily the other cloud providers. And that's because customers feel they need to optimize and streamline their environment for the use case that they have. But when you look at the investments that we've made in OCI here at Oracle, with latest CPUs, latest GPUs, our low latency networking, couple that with all the flash storage, block storage devices. We essentially have built an environment that is comparable and tends to even outperform what of most environments that customers have on premise, to be able to perform these massive calculations in minutes versus, days, months, and years. And we're seeing that, great case studies across the board, from automotive manufacturers, like I said, to the pharmaceutical industry, oil and gas. All of these various industries have these types of demanding workloads that do it, and that's where we're doing. I think it's interesting when I look. I've not been at Oracle for a long time, and I look at an industry, and you think about whether HPC makes sense at Oracle or not. And the reality is, again, back on the fact that how we've built out OCI from the foundation makes it a prime destination for HPC, and it's something that I think ultimately we're very proud of, and I think our customers are seeing a lot of advantages around those use cases. So hopefully over time we're playing a role and ultimately making people safer in the automotive industry. We're helping people, businesses succeed and understand how to take advantage of the environment, or take advantage of streamlining what people do in certain industries, to retail around how to target recommendations in a way that ultimately is customer friendly. That's the kind of work that we're doing in HPC.
Chad, what is your direction for organizations in cloud migration of their business applications like Oracle E-Business Suite, PeopleSoft, etc., as well as other enterprise packaged applications, migration to OCI?
Yeah, when it comes to these enterprise apps, I feel like a little bit of a broken record here, but I think it comes down to, again, strategy from the very beginning of making OCI be built for, again, the most demanding applications that an enterprise could run. And when you look at these packaged apps, they are the example of some of these most demanding, complex enterprise applications that you need, that an enterprise has internally that they need to run, to operate, to manage their business, to essentially run their business. And because, again, how we've built out our cloud, where you can utilize these on-premise deployment approach of what you've done, bring your same tools, etc. Our typical path has been to essentially lift and shift and bring these types of packaged apps where customers can operate them and manage them in a lot of ways that they're used to and on-premise, but then ultimately get some of the benefits of the cloud. Whether that's helping them cut down on capital costs and that they have in data centers, to being able to add scale, and whether it's M&A type of work where they need to be able to start integrating applications, bringing that together, where the cloud is a great place to be able to do that. But once they're there, we find customers, kind of the next step is, how do you take advantage of services that are built for the cloud? For example, database services. Do you want to be managing your own database in the cloud? You can do that. But where a lot of customers look at is, how do we utilize some of these services, these more managed services provided by Oracle, running in OCI, to be able to start streamlining where some of your investments from operations are. How do you then take some of the applications that integrate into these packaged applications and start extending them, and then ultimately using containers and microservices and other serviceless type of compute for interfaces that would integrate back into those? So I think it ultimately comes down to what customers want to do, but from the very foundation of it is their ability to take those packaged apps and have them behave, manage, run like they would expect, what they're used to from an on-premise perspective, into the cloud is step one. And then we work with customers all the time of whether we want to do maybe some modernization or take advantage of some of the other services as we go. And in the long run, even one thing that Oracle brings is that we are also, a SaaS provider of some of these types of services as well. So there's interim steps. I mean, enterprises are looking for, everything from SaaS, PaaS to IaaS to run these, and ultimately we have those to provide. And packaged apps is a space where we have a lot of momentum. There's no better place to take on an e-business suite deployment than at Oracle and on Oracle Cloud. You have people that know the platform and know the product and know EBS inside and out, and they know how to optimize and get the best out of the cloud in OCI.
Chad, thank you for joining us and sharing the insights with us. Thank you. Next up, I would like to introduce Tom Kopec, Director of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure for Oracle's North America Cloud Partner Ecosystem. Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. Tom, can you please summarize Oracle's cloud infrastructure strategy?
Great, thank you for having me. Appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, when we talk about Oracle's cloud strategy, we try to make it pretty simple. And we try to enable an organization's journey to the cloud really by providing a pretty comprehensive set of cloud solutions. First and foremost, is where we'll spend our time today, is the cloud infrastructure, which consists of the compute environments, multiple storage environments, multiple networking offerings available to the customer to choose from. But on top of that, we add Oracle applications, analytics technologies, data management technologies, all these offerings spread across 27 different regions worldwide. So we think we try to make it as simple as possible for our customers to get and take advantage of the Oracle cloud environment.
Why do you think Oracle has an advantage over other cloud infrastructure providers?
Yeah, Oracle Cloud, and particularly the OCI or cloud infrastructure, has three key items that differentiate us from the other players in the marketplace. First and foremost, security. And security, as we all know, is on top of everybody's mind. Secondly, performance. And thirdly, the cost. So first of all, from a security point of view, we're going to ensure that we've built into our technology high security capabilities. And it starts with the core infrastructure, separating the network layer from the virtualization layer. Secondly, we are ensuring the best performance in the marketplace today, utilizing the latest offerings from Intel and AMD to ensure you as the customer have the best performance in the marketplace. And then lastly, we're going to ensure that the cost of all the infrastructure components, the compute, the storage, and the networking components are lower than any other players in the marketplace. And a key point around that is the reduction of egress, including for no cost, 10 terabytes of egress on a monthly basis. One of the frustrations that customers have talked to us about other players on, but there's really the three areas that we focus on: security, performance, and cost, which differentiate us in the marketplace.
DR and business continuity is an important area for our customers. What is Oracle's strategy on disaster recovery and high availability in cloud?
Yeah, when we look at high availability and disaster recovery, Oracle's approach in the cloud is really give a customer choice. Now, by default, we have built inside our OCI offering some high availability capabilities, meaning that within every region, there are high availability functions built in to ensure that if there is a failure in a availability domain, for example, you'll continue running. We'll automatically switch over. So customer has choice to work from a high availability point of view in a multiple availability domain environment, which is default to Oracle Cloud. On top of that, disaster recovery comes into play. Now customers say, look, I don't want to put all my resources inside a particular region in Oracle's Phoenix data center, for example. I want a duplicate set of resources in our Ashburn data center. So customer has the choice to stand up a disaster recovery environment inside Oracle's secondary cloud environment, Ashburn, Virginia, as we indicated, for example, or Frankfurt, Germany, wherever they want. But the choices are there for the customer. So depending on their business and their requirements for high availability and disaster recovery, they can choose to utilize whatever strategy and technology they would like. Very simply, comes down to what the customer choices.
Tom, what do you prescribe as a definitive roadmap to cloud for our customers?
You know, when we talk about a roadmap to cloud, I like to take the approach is, yeah, there's a lot of different strategies a customer might want to follow to getting to cloud. And obviously it depends on the customer business. My guidance is one, start with an expert, start with somebody who's been there. So our partner SuneraTech has that expertise. They've done numerous implementations inside Oracle Cloud. And every cloud, every environment has a lot of idiosyncrasies. So my first guidance is start with an expert, get somebody in place who's been through this, they know what's going on. And then secondly, focus on the areas you want to move. And from an Oracle strategy point of view, our strategy is one, have customers who utilize Oracle Cloud applications today as the starting point. Maybe lift and shift those applications over to Oracle Cloud, but at the same time, make sure you're looking at your high availability and disaster recovery strategy that we mentioned a few moments ago. There are tools in place a customer can take advantage of for both of those environments. Thirdly, take a look at your custom applications that may be utilizing Oracle components, such as an Oracle database, and move those to the cloud environment. Take a look at third-party applications. Yes, you're going to have a discussion with that third-party vendor to make sure they support Oracle Cloud, but those are another opportunity for you to move your solutions and your business to Oracle Cloud. And then another one that's out there right now is VMware environments. There's a play right now where customers who utilize VMware environments can very easily move over to Oracle Cloud. So what I suggest is, one, select a partner to help you. Two, look at your business and make a determination which environments you want to move to cloud. Again, we have our approach from an Oracle point of view, start with Oracle apps and then work to other products. But follow that approach, get the help, look at your business, and then begin making the move.
Tom, thank you for joining us and sharing the insights with us. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Next up is David Hicks, Vice President, Worldwide ISV Cloud Strategy, Business Development and Marketing at Oracle. David is responsible for cloud strategy, business development, marketing, and enablement for Oracle's worldwide ISV sales business unit. Welcome, David. Thank you, and very glad to have you.
Yeah, no, and first, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure to be here and get to speak with you and folks attending your summit. I honestly, I think events like this are vitally important. As much as we can think that we're all different, and we are in some cases, as far as the solutions that we have, how we build it, the customers that we serve, how we sell it, how we support it, how we deliver it. At the end, there is commonalities and threads, and there's a lot of folks out there that have been there, done this, multiple times. And I think summits like this, by sharing best practices, opinions, and advice, help you maybe do things faster, more innovative, hopefully let you skip some steps and not make mistakes others have, and then more importantly, maybe again, accelerate more successfully, how to do this and skip, some steps along the way that you don't really necessarily always need to take. So love the fact that, in your summits, you're getting, business-minded folks all the way through into the technical, because I do think that a lot of folks do focus on how do we technology-wise, get to the cloud, move to the cloud. And I will just challenge folks, definitely think about the business components of what you guys are doing as well, and the new models that you might employ, pricing, sales, sales forces, marketplaces, the different things you've got as well. So, take advantage of opportunities like this. It's great for me to listen in on my peers and folks as well. I learn something all the time, and hopefully some of what I shared today was valuable in terms of that for the people listening to us today as well.
David, can you tell us what is Oracle's strategy for ISVs?
Well, thanks. It's actually a great question. What Oracle has done in general, is kind of first as the foundation and the building block, is really what we've done with what we call OCI, or Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. What we really did is we went back and we built, the cloud from the ground up, with people and expertise that had built public clouds before. One of the major kind of lenses and filters that we used was Oracle itself is one of the largest ISVs in the world. And we needed a platform, both at the infrastructure layer, compute, network, storage, up through some of the value add platform as a service, how you do integration, data management and such, that was able to actually handle, the scale and the needs of our enterprise SaaS business. What we then kind of did that I think was very, unique, is kind of the zero hypocrisy model. The exact same cloud that we can use to run our largest customers is what we actually make available, to our ISV partners as well. And there's obviously a lot of benefits based on the way that we built, Oracle Cloud. We talk about scale and performance, up to 5 times faster than other public clouds. As an example, talking about things like SLAs that are, leading in the industry around not just performance, but accessibility and things like, error rates. The beauty about all of this is the way we've architected it. We also help ISVs with cost reduction, right? We're at least usually typically 30% less expensive than other public clouds. And that's before you go into things like using autonomous services where you can reduce things further. And all of this, of course, is done, with a very heavy mind, to security, data protection, high availability, everything that an ISV is going to expect. At the end of the day, we recognize that your application is your business. And if you pick the wrong cloud, you're out of business or a very bad reputation or paying penalties to your customers. So we want to make sure we give you the industry leading cloud that enables you to, service your customers in the way that you sell and position, your product.
How do you envision partner integrators like SuneraTech providing professional services playing a key role in enabling ISVs succeed leveraging cloud?
Yes, we've had a lot of ISVs that look for exactly the type of partner that you are and the services that you offer. You've obviously got ISVs that have been in business for a very long time and they have a more kind of, legacy or on-premise based solution, that their first step into the cloud is kind of a lift and shift. When they do that, they don't have experience in necessarily how to do that, how to take advantage of cloud, how to take advantage of the unique, features and options of Oracle Cloud, nor do they know how to actually administer, and manage their customers in the cloud. And even just the migration part itself, as you move customers, kind of one by one, I think is very hard for some folks to do. So I think, that early stage of kind of, not necessarily re-architecting, but improving, lifting and shifting and managing, in the cloud is essential, to ISVs. And a lot of them don't, as I mentioned, have that in their first step into the cloud. Others then obviously, though, I truly believe are taking that step of, looking at cloud native or truly modernizing, their application as well. And again, I think that's a great opportunity for a company such as yourself, to get involved, provide that, I guess more advanced, innovation, type of approach of how do you do things in the cloud in a way you could never do it, on premise, and architect, in the best manner to deliver, again, the true benefits of, security, of performance, of scalability, of cost, all the things that, are going to be delivered, and that's something that a lot of ISVs don't necessarily have those skills up front, or they don't have enough of them, so you can actually provide that, and become that trusted partner to them. And I've seen it be a very successful model, across the world with a lot of our ISVs, and it really helps them accelerate their journey to the cloud.
What are the unique differentiators of Oracle Cloud for ISVs from technical and financial value?
Yeah, absolutely. And I alluded to a few of them, right? And I could go on forever, I feel like, on this topic, one of my favorite ones, but, it is very important. Why Oracle Cloud for an ISV, the software vendor themselves versus an end user. I love working with ISVs. It's a very different decision and a process for them, given, again, the nature of, how important picking a cloud provider is to your business. Let me go through just a couple of these, and I think this is along the lines of what repeatably resonates and partners are actually looking for from us. First of all, as I really did talk about that price performance advantage. It's not good giving a cheaper solution if it doesn't work. It's not good giving a faster solution if you have to pay more for it. But having a true price performance advantage over on-prem solutions, over other public cloud providers, even over how you can do things in your own data center, kind of a colo private cloud, being able to deliver that with all the true promises of cloud, is critical. And that is important as you try to deliver on the promise of, cost being, less expensive. I mentioned the enterprise SLAs, right? A lot of folks will give you an SLA of whether or not you can get to the, your software in the cloud. But if they take it down for patches, if maybe it's a little bit slower than it's supposed to be, those types of SLAs don't kick in, right? So Oracle, understanding the SaaS business, actually does that, right? As far as availability, manageability, and performance, something that you can build, your SLAs and stand behind, with the comfort that Oracle's backing you up as well. I talked about autonomous services. An autonomous database is probably the one that we're most known for. Obviously, there's things such as reducing human error, better availability, but also things like being able to cut costs in the folks that administer those services by up to 80%. It doesn't mean you're going to let people go, but it's going to give you the ability to redeploy those folks into a better area. I think another one is the robust security that we talk about, having kind of comprehensive data and access controls for your systems is something that's very important, in the world that we live in today, especially, more work from home and how people are accessing it. I think cloud deployment flexibility is very important. As an ISV, you could be running on-prem, you could be running in the public cloud. You might need to have a cloud at customer solution where you put, a cloud system behind the customer's firewall is an example, right? And being able to do it with the system architected runs the exact same way in all of those places. And the last two ones that I'll just hit on quickly and probably expound upon, here in a bit. One is our enterprise customer base. One, knowing that, we can do it, you can as well. Second, though, and we'll highlight on it, I think that enterprise customer base gives you a great opportunity to partner with Oracle and go after it, as far as somebody that's looking for solutions, integrating to our products and offering that up. And then lastly, just the ability and the ease of purchasing Oracle Cloud, right? We have a concept called universal credits, allows you to buy the cloud that you need, but not worry about sizing it correctly, different prices in different data centers. It's truly, a universal currency for you to buy anything we have today or in the future, and really gives you some price assurance in how you price and, deliver your product, throughout the world as well. So I know that was, a little bit deeper. Thanks for bearing with me, but, those are the types of things that, partners are really looking for today and coming to Oracle for specifically.
What are some of the specific use cases of ISV workloads, whether Oracle workloads like Oracle Database or other workloads like Microsoft Database or applications that can use Oracle Cloud virtual machines or bare metal or even high performance computing on Oracle Cloud infrastructure?
Yeah, and that's actually probably my favorite question of all, because I love talking about our partners. I love talking about what they do. And I think, in a lot of cases, they tell our story, better than we do. You've got a lot of diversity in the Oracle base. You've got partners that had a complete on-premise Oracle solution. A lot of folks say in the warehouse and management supply chain, to where they came to Oracle because all of their customers that they had on premise ran on a full Oracle stack underneath their software. And so obviously Oracle Cloud is the best place to run, Oracle in that model as well. Those same providers then are building their next gen cloud, on Oracle as well, taking advantage of a lot of the things that we've talked about. What's kind of interesting, as well, that I do want people to think about, is also folks that have their own, for example, first, their own private, data centers where they're trying to deliver and manage their own cloud services. Companies like, Exactly, Workforce Software that have lifted and shifted those into the Oracle Cloud and have seen it give them, a 30% increase in performance with a 60% cost saving, as an example, and the ability to do that at scale kind of globally. When you get into HPC, as you've mentioned, systems and solutions like Siemens, Altair, Ansys, Rescale, Cisco, and some of these solutions, interestingly enough, may not have even an Oracle database behind them. But what's interesting in those is that, based again on the way we've architected it, they've seen 15-20% increase in CPU utilization with Oracle versus the competitors, which you can imagine goes to cost. They've got a 60 times, not 60%, 60 times performance improvement versus even their on-premise best solutions. And then they're able to deliver this, immediately, in the cloud as well. And I guess one, since we're on it, here today as well, that I find, very interesting, is a company like Zoom, somebody that came to Oracle, and within a week was actually live and hosting customers on the Oracle Cloud. And if you think of Zoom today, right, 280,000 plus people on Zoom every hour, 300 unique million users, a month, petabytes and petabytes of data, and being able to deliver that, again, cost effectively at scale, and really helping, this kind of crazy world that we're in today with COVID. So, kind of netting that out, great solution for Oracle. The best place to run Oracle is the Oracle Cloud, but having a solution that, is incredibly, successful for non-Oracle as well. We do have, as you mentioned, customers that are running Microsoft SQL Server, on Windows images in the Oracle Cloud, because it's faster and more cost effective than they can do it, somewhere like, Azure. With what we've done with VMware now, by helping all of those customers, be able to really bring their solutions and their, workloads to the cloud as well. I think you're going to find that, we're probably one of the most open clouds, not something Oracle's traditionally known for, and hopefully, by some of these examples, that gives you some insight into that, and how we can actually help, other ISVs do this as well.
David, what are the top 3 reasons why ISVs should consider Oracle Cloud?
Yeah, no, thanks. Love to bring it home and point that out. There are 3, easy things that I'd ask everybody to remember, right? First and foremost is the value of the platform, kind of the technology itself, right? So we do believe and have proved that we have the best cloud, especially for enterprise applications, mission critical solutions, and ISVs in the cloud today, right? So the value of the platform absolutely stands on its own and delivers what you need. Second is that commercial side of it as well, right? Not only do you get the performance, but you get it at a price that's going to be less than other public cloud providers. We give you, easy to use contracts and methods to make sure you can go to business with your customers the way you want to, including industry leading SLAs, and our universal credit model, so that you have the ability to buy any service you need today or in the future based on the investment you already have, and deploy that in any data center in the world at the same price, so that you can have, a very standardized pricing model yourself. And then lastly, this is the one that we didn't hit on. I challenge people to look at Oracle as, a true partner, a true go-to-market partner in the cloud, right? Whether you're doing things such as, just leveraging, Oracle, if you're a smaller ISV, in terms of what we can do to promote you, through press releases and, helping you with, video references, documentations, positioning of Oracle Cloud, sales enablement for your sales force, all the way up to giving you the ability to integrate into our on-premise products, which a lot of folks still use and are still trying to modernize, but more importantly into our SaaS portfolio, right? Our CX, customer experience, our ERP and NetSuite, we're the industry leader. It's giving you the ability to integrate in and extend and enhance those products, and then take that to market, through the Oracle sales teams and to our customers to give you a whole new route to market that you can't with anybody else. Marketplaces, that let you easily deploy and even sell your solutions through Oracle as well. The list is just numerous, but I will challenge you to definitely look at Oracle, in a different light as far as a solid go-to-market partner in the cloud as well. So again, we've got the right technology, we've got it at the right price and the models that you need to be able to leverage it. And then of course, we think most importantly, we can help you top line as well, expand and sell, to more customers and get into new markets by working with Oracle as well.
David, thank you for joining us and sharing your valuable insights. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm pleased to have Anil Gaur, Director of Infrastructure, Meritor. He is an accomplished software professional having more than 22 years of experience in managing infrastructure, platforms, applications. He has led the digital transformation in Meritor by migrating the complete data center and the mission critical workloads to Oracle Cloud infrastructure. Welcome, Anil. Thank you, and very glad to have you on the show. And Anil, congratulations on your cloud journey and the great success in data center transformation to Oracle Cloud at Meritor.
Thank you, Srini. Thank you for having me for this summit.
Anil, can you talk about what makes Meritor unique and what are some of the new transformational initiatives that's going on in your business?
So the way Meritor is unique is because of our environment. It's a very complex environment because it built over almost 100 years of legacy that we have. So we have systems that are very old and they're phasing, and then we have the systems that are very, very new, born in the cloud. So it's a mixture of all these, and the interdependency of each other makes our environment very unique and very complex. And the new initiatives that are going on right now are the Smart Factory or the Industry 4.0 IoT initiatives. We're doing a lot of like the data lake and data warehousing initiatives. So we're trying to make our factories as much automated as possible, and also trying to gather as much information as we can to make right decisions for the right productivity.
The three key imperatives for organizations to migrate applications to cloud are: one, innovation-led to ensure business is ahead of the competition; second, business-led to become cloud first to engage with consumers; and third, consolidation-led to easily consolidate and divest to reduce costs. What were your business and IT imperatives at Meritor for your cloud transformation?
So we are doing a mixture of all of three imperatives that you mentioned. So we are definitely being on the innovative edge in terms of all of our products. We're going towards the innovation, making them digitally enabled. We're also consolidating a lot in terms of reducing our footprint, making it more efficient, and at the end, making it more cost effective. Our key requirements that we're meeting out of doing the migration is, number one is to reduce the cost. And number two is to make the environment more efficient and more agile, so that we can deliver to the business on demand without delaying on the infrastructure side. So we are looking at making this environment so agile that we can almost create the environment overnight and then get rid of it when we don't need it. So that way we can save the money.
Anil, I'm aware that it was tough to make the decision to move from IBM data center to cloud infra. Now, you have been right in the center of making the decision. How were you able to make that decision? Most leaders struggle to make a massive cultural change in IT to align to this whole new world of infrastructure on cloud that no one has embarked before.
So there are two things that go, and you're right. We moved from a traditional brick and mortar data center to a completely cloud environment. And there are two elements that go into that. The one element is your technology. That means all of your systems, your applications, your servers, are they going to be able to survive in the cloud environment? Are they going to be able to serve the purpose in the cloud environment? Are they going to operate? And the second part is the people or the resource side, where joined together with your processes and your people, are you equipped for a drastic change in the support model, and also in the way you maintain these and you monitor these and the way you work through those? And it requires to be prepared on both sides. So from on the system side, we have started doing this about 6 to 7 years ago, where we have started to virtualize everything and containerize everything. We went towards standardizing the operating system, standardizing the hardware. So we went from almost 30 to 40 different types of servers into 2 types of servers. And we went from so many operating systems into 2 operating systems. And that all happened behind the scenes much before we were ready to get into the cloud. And therefore, the migration to cloud was very easy. It was a simple lift and shift operation from the technical perspective. And that enabled us to be able to survive in the cloud very well. And we didn't face any issues, as you know, after we went live. It was all very nicely received by the business. Nobody noticed that we changed our environment from a brick and mortar to the cloud. In fact, they noticed it to see that it is performing much better and much faster. On the people side, we were also prepared to take over this new arrangement or the new generation of support. We know that there are going to be requirements from Oracle side when they will take the applications down during the maintenance. There is a difference in how you do the backup. There is a difference in how you do the DR. There is a difference in how you do the monitoring and patching and things like that. So it was all planned. And then I think once you understand what you're going into, you are able to do that with no issues. And that's what happened in our case.
You had to make the decisions on which cloud would fit right for Meritor. Given the IT application landscape, is it OCI, AWS, Azure, etc.? How did you make the decision? And what are the top 3 factors that helped you in your decision?
So you're right. We have so many clouds to choose from. The journey of our decision based on the key elements. Number one was the relevance or the compatibility. As you know, that majority of our applications are the Oracle applications. So we run EBS, we run VCP, we run OTM, we run Hyperion, we run PeopleSoft. So we run JD Edwards. So we are pretty much by and large an Oracle shop. So about 60 to 70% of our application suite is Oracle. So we thought it would be natural choice to go into Oracle because of the compatibility of the applications. The second factor was the bare metal capability. So we have some of our applications They are legacy, they don't have support anymore, and they cannot be ported onto the new environment. They have to run on bare metal by itself. And Oracle was the only cloud at the time when we evaluated that was offering a bare metal capability, that you could do a bare metal on demand and then you go from there. So that was the second reason. And the third reason, obviously, was a very, very important one, was the cost. We got the cost benefit from Oracle Cloud and the deal that was structured, which was much better than we could get from the other clouds. So those were the three major factors that kind of helped us to lean towards Oracle in this case.
Cloud migration has certain speed bumps along the way, now, especially if the hardware and operating systems are legacy and de-supported like Solaris, that requires cross-platform migration, as well as application and database versions have limited support. What parameters did you consider in your cloud migration strategy? What is your advice on cloud operations, security, and cost management, specifically before, during, and after migration to cloud?
So you're right. We did do, for a lot of our main core applications like Oracle EVS and VCP and other applications, PeopleSoft, we were running on Solaris before, and it was difficult to migrate into Linux because it requires a lot of time. It requires a lot of testing to do that. While we migrated everything, including the Solaris applications, and then there are some applications, as I was talking about, that have to be containerized in the sense like they cannot be upgraded in the operating system or from the application version level. They have to be lifted and shifted as is in the form of an image to install it on the other side. And then there is a bunch of applications that can be upgraded. So it was a combination of everything. As far as the overall migration approach was, the first thing I think, if you are looking at moving to cloud, the first thing you need to do is to take your time to design the environment from the security perspective. Like, do you want to have, how many zones do you want to have? Do you want to have secure zone or the trusted zone? And then you want to have a semi-trusted zone? Do you want to have an untrusted zone? Similarly, do you want to separate your test and development from production? Do you want to separate your disaster recovery from production in terms of the zoning of the network? And we did all of that, and then define the rules that allow the applications to interact across these zones. And then make sure that you have enough redundancy built into the cloud in addition to security. So if there is a failure of one availability domain, how are you going to sustain from that perspective? So with all of this, and where are you going to get your internet connection from? Where are you going to set your firewalls? Do you have any requirement that needs you to have a physical data center, like a co-location or something, where sometimes, like we do have a regulatory requirement which required us to have our servers, some of our servers in Equinix. So that adds another zone or another complexity to the environment. So you need to think about how are you going to allow the firewall access into all of your environment? How are you going to allow the internet access to all these servers, including your core servers in the trusted zone for patching and for other things? So, and then sometimes there is internet access required for the regular usage. Some of the devices may need to access the shared storage or the object storage. How are you going to allow access to that? So all those things need to be considered, and it is a good idea to put all of that into the same page and then try to draw the diagrams that help you at a very high level on how are you going to structure this. And then, once you have that, implementing that becomes much easier. Finding out these things as an afterthought after you have gone ahead with the implementation, it causes a mess in the environment. It causes an insecure and a very complex environment, which can be avoided if you are planning upfront. And SuneraTech did a great job in helping us planning and in providing the resources that facilitated not only the discussion, but also the expertise to guide us through the process and make sure that we do the right design to start with. The second part of that is the testing. So when you're doing a cross-platform migration, like from Solaris to Linux, or we move to the Exadata and Access cloud services in this case, you have to allow enough time to test. And once you do that, do not rush on testing. And once your testing is good, then you can move without any issues. And we go from there. Another word of caution that we learned the hard way is that environment like XRCS, they keep changing that image on a regular basis, as you would expect. And you generally have like we did, we created the test and development system for our testing, actually, or to be production system, early in the game, about 6 to 8 months before we went live. And by the time we went live, there was a drastic difference in the image level. So you might want to take another refresh of the image at that time to make sure that you are going in with the new image, so that as soon as you go live, there is no need for you to upgrade the XRCS image and other versions and everything else. So that is kind of a takeaway that we learned the hard way, because we did not do that, and we dealt with the upgrades after the migration. So that's something I would do if I were to do this all over again.
Effective DR and business continuity with lowest RTO and RPO was very important for Meritor. And you were able to successfully achieve DR solution with OCI as part of the migration to cloud. What was your strategy and approach?
So with respect to disaster recovery and business continuity, let's talk about the backups first, because they are the prime element of the business continuity. And what we found out that there are tools in Oracle and even in other cloud environments to do your backups that are native tools to the environment where you can do the backup. But when you're looking at managing these at a high number of servers and on a daily basis with different retentions, you have dailies, weeklies, night, and then monthlies and the yearlies, and then you have incrementals and full backups, and then you have a duplicate copy of those and things like that. And that makes it very, very difficult to maintain and to administer that. So I felt a need for a tool, a third-party tool that would do this. And we, with the help of SuneraTech, they helped us a lot in identifying the right tools. We have chosen Commvault as a tool to do the backups for us, which was certified in Oracle, because we were going in, there were limited number of tools available for Oracle that would support an Oracle environment. So that kind of helped us making our backups very easy and very simple, like you would do in your environment. As far as the disaster recovery goes, again, the native capabilities of OCI were just from the database level perspective. You could do a replication of the data using the data guard. And for the file system, they were recommending to use rsync. And I personally did not find those methods to be sustainable in the long run. You cannot put them in autopilot and work. Somebody needs to monitor and tweak and work through those on a regular basis. So we had again chosen a tool to do this. And we are using a tool to do the disaster recovery also at the very high level, and that also helps us in doing a disaster recovery for our co-location area also. And what we have done is we have chosen a secondary data center in OCI where we are replicating these environments live. And when there is a disaster recovery requirement, we just bring them up to the live and then we use them. So that's what we're doing with that. It's very important to design all this when you're going live. And for us, we divided our migration into waves. And with each wave, as we went live, we had tested the disaster recovery for those applications to make sure that they worked. And then we go from there.
Anil, I understand that application and infrastructure security capabilities is a very important for Meritor, and audit committees invest a lot of hours focusing entirely on cybersecurity. SuneraTech, being the cloud and enterprise security partner of Meritor, is defining the detailed security roadmap and implementing the security solutions to elevate the maturity. What is your take on cybersecurity, and what do you advise organizations do as part of the cloud strategy?
It's a very good question. And we did, in fact, strengthen our security posture greatly during this migration, and that was our vision, and we accomplished that. The one thing that we have to keep in mind is that the best security or implementation or the best security structure or your most improvement in your security posture can come during your planning phase and your designing phase. And then when you start to implement using all the factors that you built in, it is very, very difficult operationally and functionally to implement security measures after you go live, because it makes it so much difficult, because once the production is going on, it is interruptive, and sometimes you require a lot of testing. It takes a lot of time to do that. It's much easier to do it all in the beginning. So whatever you have in your wish list in terms of accomplishing security, like zoning, firewalls, IDS, IPS, whatever antivirus you want to put, if you want to put the systems that monitor the behavioral antivirus, all that stuff, it is much better to put it in the beginning. Also, if you want to use any cloud access security brokers, any CASBs, you want to use any SIM, or any of these arrangements, if you want to use DLP, all these things, whatever you're thinking of putting it in your security portfolio, it is a good idea to plan for all of that and start implementing those while you're doing the migration, so that everything gets kind of tied out in the testing and you're able to do that properly. Doing it later on makes it 10 times more difficult and more expensive and more time consuming. So it's a good idea to start from where you are. Also, it helps a lot to not be very over ambitious, because as you know, the basic premise of security is to keep the environment very secure, which is opposite to the basic premise of operations, where you want to keep the environment operationally functional for the people to use that. So you should not go overboard, use the right maturity metrics. And we did a lot of research in terms of Gartner, and SuneraTech also helped us in trying to find out the right balance between where we should be in terms of the security. And once you find that out, then you translate that into what tools and what capabilities you need. And then you start implementing those, and then you go from there. I have seen many of my colleagues get into the trap of implementing everything from the security perspective, and they get trapped into that, and you go nowhere from there. So it's a good idea to be balanced and to implement what you just need to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And there is always a cost benefit equation to this. So keep that in mind and then go from there.
Anil, kudos to you for this great success of migrating to Oracle Cloud Infra. Kudos to Meritor team and the SuneraTech team as well for this success. Having successfully completed the migration and going live within the time period as planned, you're able to retire your data center. Can you share some of the expected results as well as some unexpected results in performance, scalability, DR on demand, agility for innovation, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. So first off, we found SuneraTech team to be a great partner that works very well with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. They were probably one of the most knowledgeable vendor I have seen from the OCI knowledge perspective. They work very intimately with Oracle Cloud environment. They were very familiar with how to do things there. And they had very, very good level people in terms of expertise for the network, for the operations, for the server system administration, for storage, for backups, everything. So it was a great team from migration as well as from the operations perspective. And the second thing is the Oracle Cloud environment is also very stable. Earlier, we were a little worried, but when I went to some of the customer forums and talked to people, it gave me a little bit of comfort that yes, we can rely on the environment and go from there. So we did that. And once you put the right partner with the right arrangement and the right processes in place, it makes it much smoother for you to operate. And our business did not face any outages or any interruptions in terms of the migration and the operations later on. We have accomplished what we were doing earlier in terms of the backups. We're much more efficient in the backups now. We're doing the disaster recovery in a much better manner than we do earlier. Now we are moving towards the individual application DR. So our vision is to, in probably next 1 year or so, we will be able to run the application seamlessly from one data center or from the other and move them around and therefore make DR a non-issue. And to do that, we require some fundamental infrastructure in the groundwork that a lot of that we built during the migration. So that's one thing. The biggest benefit that business sees is number one, a drastic reduction in our cost. Number two is a drastic improvement in the agility. Just to give you an idea, it used to take us somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks to get a VM created in the earlier environment for the application owners to be able to test something or maybe do a proof of concept. And now it takes 24 to 48 hours to do that. And it takes 24 to 48 hours, not because cloud takes that much time to do. It is because of our processes. We need to validate what do they need, why do they need. And then we need to make sure they're right sizing everything. We need to make sure there is right accountability. There's a management support to do that. And that process takes us a little bit of time to do that. One more thing that we have done differently than many companies do, and I think it's a good thing to do what we have done, is that we have not allowed our end user customers to create the images in the cloud. We have centralized it through a stream of requests, so that way we can keep the accountability. So I have my team that actually receives all the requests, and then they facilitate the resource creation in the cloud. And that helps us in two ways. Number one is it prevents the cloud sprawl. And the second thing it does is it controls the cost, because we place the accountability to the people and then we charge them back in terms of what they're asking us to do. So from that way, we have put a very tight control on the growth on the cloud and in the cloud environment. But it did enable the business to get the systems within 24 to 48 hours. And that helps them a lot. And the other thing which is different in the cloud environment, obviously from the other one, is pay-per-use. So if we don't need anything, we can just stop it or decommission it, and you don't get charged for that, which we did not have in the brick and mortar data center. Even if you didn't need, you pay for the hardware. So those are some of the main differences they have seen. They have also seen a drastic improvement in the performance, somewhere between 20 to 30% improvement in the performance, and that is always welcome. So it's benefits all around. And as I said, SuneraTech partnered all along, and they're helping us to support. And we're very happy with the support and the way things are going.
Anil, what are some of your future initiatives building on top of the cloud infra success and leveraging the cloud investments?
So as we go forward, what we are seeing is that there are a lot of cloud providers emerging out. Now we have Google Cloud, there's Microsoft Azure, which is there for a long time. We have AWS, we have OCI, and then there are other cloud providers that are coming into play as well. And they all have different areas of expertise. So some clouds are good in serving you from the business intelligence perspective. Some clouds are good in serving you from the IoT perspective. Some clouds like Microsoft Office 365 is good for giving you the Office 365 capabilities. Um, some clouds are good for giving you a more reliable, robust environment. And then you have some clouds like Oracle that run proprietary applications and the software that allows you to use their product in their cloud very well. So the point I'm making here is there is no single cloud that you can settle down going down the road. You have to keep yourself open to be able to move to multiple clouds. And if you let business figure this out, the environment will be very scattered and it will be insecure and will create a lot of what I call the technical debt, so that you will have to deal with it later on by investing your time and resources to set it right. The best thing to do is to plan for it and create the environment, and that's what we're doing now. We are extending our environment to the other clouds. And one of the things that we did during this is that, as I was saying, that we went to the Equinix Cloud Exchange in this process, and while we migrated to Oracle. So we have terminated our MPLS circuits into the Equinix Cloud Exchange in the Equinix location. And from there, we can tap into any of these cloud providers. It's a 10-minute job for us now to get connected to AWS or to Azure or to Oracle or to Google Cloud from our MPLS through this Equinix Cloud Exchange. And that helps us to connect all these clouds in seamless way and to extend our environment into these areas. Um, as we know that smart factory and IoT is coming, there is a lot of requirement for the edge computing. There is a lot of requirement for the extension of the cloud resources to our sites, and different clouds provide different needs or fulfill different needs for this purpose. What we are doing is we are trying to connect all of these cloud environments together and create a secure extension of our environment so that for the business, it's a seamless process. They don't have to worry about are they going in Google or in AWS or Azure or OCI. All they need is this function which is available in this particular cloud, and they can have it as soon as they want. And that's what we're working towards, enabling the business to do that.
Anil, thank you for joining us and sharing the insights with us. Your answers and comments are really appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Srini. This is a great event. I think events like this keep the people in the IT environment connected. And it also allows them some time to look into what other people are doing and learn from what is going on around you. So I find these events very, very useful and very productive. And thank you again for inviting me to this. And I would like to thank you, SuneraTech team, for providing a great support and great service, not only in migration, but also after the migration. Thank you.